Пидорасы ёбаные, блядь! Нахуй вы суете свою ебаную...
Hello. Time for another Fallout 4 challenge run. Alright, so the premise for this is that I'm playing as, of course, Joseph Stalin. But since we've had some budget cuts, all you guys get is Giuseppe Stalini. Yes, isn't he beautiful? In this run, I'm only allowed to use my followers to deal damage and take out enemies. Absolutely no guns, no melee weapons, and no power armor. I'm only allowed to use my bare fists to defend myself and my followers. Now, of course, we have a wonderful mod pack that I lovingly baked for all you little bitches that watch my content but never subscribe. In this pack, we have immersive Soviet theming and the multiple followers mod. This allows me to have as many followers as I want, but the limitations I'm putting on this is that 1, they have to be human, with exceptions of 1 sentry bot that will later act as my unit's tank, and of course Nick Valentine because he's sentient enough. 2, only conventional weapons, no energy weapons. TLDR, only my fists and followers for damage. No power armor, no energy weapons, unlimited followers plus 1 tank bot allowed. Now this build snowballs at an insane degree, starting off hilariously weak to incredibly powerful. To offset this, the run will be played with a difficulty level of very hard. I tried survival, but the game becomes extremely unstable and hard blocks half the main story, so apologies for that. Very hard will do just fine. You guys will be fine without me splicing in a clip of Giuseppe drinking radioactive sewage every 5 minutes. We have 3 goals for this run: beat the main game in 1 DLC, build Gulag, build big army. Okay, that's the framework for our beloved Giuseppe Stalini. This is going to be absolute chaos, so please enjoy. Also, subscribe, you bastards. Before the bombs, Giuseppe was an edgy college student, and much like modern academia, Marxism holds a very special place in his heart and soul. He woke up with nothing but sheer determination and hard nipples. With these tools, he aims to restore the Soviet Union in post-apocalyptic Boston, Massachusetts. Now, we are limited to just our fists for the time being, so we need to get our first soldier as fast as possible. Luckily, Preston is just down the street from Sanctuary and is in need of a large, muscular Slavic man to save and comfort him. Luckily, the Museum of Freedom is the tutorial stage, so everything involved is quite easy and doesn't pose too much difficulty, except that I'm not allowed to use power armor, and I have to fight this Deathclaw with my fists. Yes, these are my rules that I set, but Bethesda is in part to blame, because they thought scripting this quest to give the players some of the strongest armor in the game immediately after starting, and balancing things around said armor was genuinely a good idea. But then again, this is Fallout 4, and I certainly don't take this game seriously, as I am currently playing as dollar store Joseph Stalin, attempting to restore the Soviet Union in Boston. Anyway, this Deathclaw was a huge pain, and really highlighted how weak this build is to start off. You can just bait him into this store here, and he can't hit you. It's also within Preston's sight lines, so he can shoot the Deathclaw for you. So in theory, you don't have to even fight the Deathclaw at all. But Preston is a terrible shot, and that would take forever. So I take as many drugs as possible and start smacking the Deathclaw, trying to avoid getting destroyed. The first few times I attempted this, I understood why Deathclaws were named after their appendages and what happens to people when they get hit with them. After many such attempts, we were successful, and then we joined Preston as Sanctuary.
Do I look like a carpenter to you?
I don't know what the fuck.
In order to get Preston as a follower, you have to help a settlement first, which typically means you have to wipe out a group of raiders or ghouls, but I'm stuck with my fists and no power armor, so my solution to this is simply going to the settlement and assaulting its inhabitants and failing the quest. This is way quicker. Now all we do is tell Preston and boom, done. Now we can conscript Preston into the Red Army. We equip him with a bolty and a snazzy uniform, and we are off to get our next member, Piper, who is located in Diamond City. It is stupid easy to get her as a follower. All you have to do is get to Diamond City and do a satirical interview with her.
So, I know you're from a vault. How would you describe your time on the inside?
It was just me and 1,000 guinea pigs. They turned carnivorous.
Okay.
But the hardest part is actually getting to Diamond City in the first place, only having a communist Preston for nearly 100% of your damage in defense. Using the sheer power of 200-year-old junk food and radioactive soda, Preston was just enough to get us to Diamond City after an hour or so running from ghouls. So here we are in Diamond City. We give Piper her interview.
Guinea pigs.
And a uniform. We hold off on getting the quest for Nick for just a bit so we can pick up MacCready. Once we fight our way up to Good Neighbor, we go ahead into the third rail bar and we conscript him into the Red Army. We now have Preston, Piper, and MacCready, bringing our total to 3. And now we go back to Diamond City to get the quest for Nick Valentine. The difficulty is very high, so I wanted to get a little more firepower. Continuing on, we make it to Boston Common. I was bored, so I decided to try my small army out on Swan, and that turned out to be not a very good idea. We'll come back to this later. Enough of that. We enter the subway system, make our way through the Mafia's vault, and find our mechanical friend, who will very shortly be conscripted into the Red Army. Now that we have grown to 4 people strong, the pathing gets a bit strange sometimes in certain cells. Continuing with the main quest, getting into Kellogg's house with Nick will kind of bug out and the game will soft lock, but luckily I'm on PC and we have a gift from the gods called the debug console. Seriously though, this game would not be playable without it, and same goes for Skyrim and New Vegas. Anyway, after manually setting the quest stages and getting a key, we can go straight to Fort Haagen-Dazs to retrieve Kellogg's head. This building is quite tight, and the synths are powerful, so it proved difficult, but with some effort, we triumphed and steamrolled Kellogg.
Hello, Russia! We are back! Long time no see. Love what you did with the place. Looks nice. Not going to lie, been waiting 77 long years for this. You know what they say. Third time's the charm, yeah.
We bring the cybernetics back to Good Neighbor and have this nerd send us into a hard drive.
McGailey, you successfully hit metal 17 times, so you are now proud owner of this photograph of motorcar. I am happy. But property is theft, so you are now under arrest. Well enough.
And we then get the next stage of the main quest where we have to visit Shrek. Now, at this point, this challenge is starting to get more manageable, and I'm dying less frequently. Our soldiers are getting upgraded equipment and greater in numbers, and the combat is actually pretty fun to watch. Yeah, the combat AI in Fallout 4 is pretty garbage, but the sheer chaos of having 4 to 5 followers is hilarious, and pretty exciting despite that. This being said, it's time to voyage through the glowing sea, not actually a body of water, but a heavily irradiated zone with high-level enemies. Our army is of course mighty, but I think having an extra member would be more fun, so it's back to Good Neighbor to recruit its mayor, of course. Encock is a pretty cool ghoul follower, but in order to recruit him, we need to complete the Big Dig side quest. And like many other good things, it starts in a sketchy back alley. We demand as many caps as possible, then accept the quest. She pays you up front, so you can literally just run with the money without consequence, but we need to complete the quest to get Hancock, so Giuseppe and his merry band enter the dig site, wipe out some Mirelurks, talk with her again.
Looks like we are having crab for dinner tonight.
Then meet her in Diamond City to pick up a crackhead engineer who is in prison.
I was hoping to get Mel at a lockup.
I didn't know Mel had friends. All right, he's pretty much done his time. Let me open up the door.
Then meet back at the dig site again. In my opinion, this quest is pretty boring. Haha, get it? Boring, like like boring a tunnel. But it involves a lot of ghouls and mirelurks in tight spaces, in which Sonya would get stuck a lot. Again, thank the gods for the debug console. We are told that we are heisting Diamond City.
Well, guys, we're right under the Diamond City strong room.
You sure this is the right place? I've been mapping it out, and I think Diamond City should be a little further north of here.
I don't have a doubt in my mind. How about a little trust for the boss?
But it obviously was a lie, and we broke into Hancock's private cache.
Nice no-nos. You all just broke into Hancock's storeroom. You know, Hancock, the mayor of Good Neighbor.
Damn it, Bobby.
You can either side with Bobby and rob Hancock for some pretty mid-loot, or you can side with his guards and either resolve the scenario peacefully or violently. Since I'm a general that has to manage the morale and respect of my soldiers, I resolve it peacefully and side with Hancock.
Come on, Bobby. At least if we leave now, we leave with our lives.
Well, shit.
Sorry to cause you trouble.
The boss will understand.
We get a legendary minigun and we head back to Good Neighbor, where Hancock personally thanks us and gives us some caps. He will then give a speech and then offer to join you. We gladly conscript him into our army and equip him with a drippy uniform and a rocket launcher, because why the hell not? I do have to say, his new uniform looks baller on him, and the rocket launcher is just straight funny at this point. Now we are prepared for the glowing sea. Alright, even on the very hard difficulty level, 1 Rad-X is all you really need to make it to Virgil's cave if you know where you're going. We make it to the radioactive Christians and get directions to Virgil's cave. Our army makes short work of both the death claws and radioactive insects we encounter. On a side note, I gave McCready an anti-tank rifle, and that was such a good idea. The rocket launcher also turned out to be pretty funny as well. Again, hilarious to watch my little army collapse and things. Well, Shrek told us that we need to acquire a courser chip, so off to Green Tech Genetics we go. Honestly, this is one of the better parts of the game, especially the base game. It's just an action center of the story. It occurs right when the players are leveled enough to hold up in combat, and it's just a fun section. That being said, I am most certainly not most players, but in fact Giuseppe Stellini. So my power scaling is all kinds of effed up, and I rely on communism as my main source of damage. Green Tech was still a lot of fun though, despite my army's many failures and shortcomings.
I'm here to kill you and take your
Calzone.
That you cannot have.
Calzone.
But we still made it through successfully in the end, acquiring the brain plastic we needed for Shrek. So since we are playing as General Giuseppe, and part of this build is balancing all my soldiers' opinions of me, that unfortunately means we can't instantly blow up the railroad, and God forbid we actually have to work with them briefly. It was difficult, but we managed to be in their headquarters for 45 seconds without getting a stroke. I know, impressive. We take this opportunity to get Deacon's tradecraft quest so he can join the Red Army as well.
I would consider it a close personal favor if you didn't sell us out to the Institute.
Too bad.
That's not so fast, man. Okay, have you eaten anything out there?
No, I never eat anything.
You see, that's smart. The Institute has these tiny microscopic robots in the food, man. And they report back.
Tom, that's rubbish.
You just don't get it, Carrington. The Institute is in your blood.
They're in my blood?
Absolutely not. Tom, we ran your tests extensively.
After we acquire the Wasteland Liberal, we visit Shrek once more, who gives us schematics for a teleporter. And of course, we have our beloved crackhead engineer build it for us. Immediately upon Father revealing himself, he is met with the wrath of the Soviet Union's fists.
I am, Sean. I am your son.
A glorious hand-to-hand duel takes place and Giuseppe emerges victorious. We book it to the teleporter array before the Terminator bots can attack us. Mission successful. Alright, so when you eliminate Father immediately upon meeting him, and you are not allied with the Brotherhood or Railroad, and you have not done enough Minutemen quests, you will get the Form Ranks quest. This essentially means you need to complete a bunch of Radiant quests helping out helpless villagers. Giuseppe does this until his new union is strong enough to directly assault the Institute. But before we start our glorious battle, there's a couple things that need to get done, such as helping fellow Slavic man help Travis be less of a loser. By starting a bar fight, of course.
We need a new DJ for the radio.
Are you serious?
Did we not just agree this is serious problem? Calls for serious solution.
I'm not stupid.
A bar fight. Soon as possible.
Which ends up getting Vadim kidnapped. Being the only competent man in all of Boston, we rescue him, and Travis becomes a Giga Chad through the power of post-traumatic stress. Oh dear, our dumpster fire of a settlement called the Castle is now under attack by the Institute. Much like the United States government, they use robotic birds to spy on us, but luckily our soldiers can use their Hyperborean genes to sense them, and we can preemptively prepare by placing corn. If that sentence didn't make sense, good. They start teleporting in, and hence begins the Battle of Dumpster Fire Town. Right, now that's done, we now get the Nuclear Option quest, and that allows us to destroy the Institute via the Minutemen. But before we do that, it's time to construct glorious gulag to house any and all who oppose Giuseppe so that utterly useless can be made useful once again. Starlight Drive-In has been selected for our gulag, so to begin, we make sure to clean everything up, removing anything nice or recreational, and of course, we build a big wall around the entire settlement. Remember, you are here forever. The Union needs scrap, so we establish many scavenging stations so our prisoners can produce scrap passively for us. Of course, we provide very good housing. Food and water is not included in order to get that authentic communist experience. Only work and loyalty to our glorious leader is allowed. To symbolize our love for Union and to remind Gulag's tenants of their loyalty, we establish grand memorial of Stalin for all to see in at least 10-kilometer radius. Our workstations are brilliantly crafted and supervised 24/7 to ensure good work ethic, because bad work ethic is anti-Soviet behavior. For those that misbehave and require disciplinary action, we of course have these wonderful devices in which I have dubbed Furping stations. Yes, the pillar holds you in place while you are blasted from the front with a saw wave speaker and a bright floodlight. From the back, you are also blasted simultaneously by a paintball gun and a junk cannon. Any violations of anti-Soviet behavior warrants 19 hours in the Furping station so that you may be furped back into obedience. More Furping sessions will occur for all additional violations. Giuseppe loved the Furping. Very, very good. Oh, how I just love the Furping. I have selected Automatron for this run's DLC. Yes, we of course find Ada being assaulted by the Best Buy toaster department. In theory, after all the bots are cleared out, you can talk with Ada to start the quest line, but this is Bethesda we're talking about. So that means the quest gets soft locked because Ada can't register that all the bots are in fact gone. So we open up the debug console, input the quest ID, set the stage to, usual protocol. Anyway, the first new location in Automatron is this old robotics factory. The gimmick with this DLC is that we are trying to find the Mechanist, who is this crackhead engineer that's responsible for all the killer robots flying around. You have to collect parts from these special bots, which Ada uses to track and decrypt the master signal. I actually quite like the second dungeon in Automatron. It's under the Fort Hagen satellite array. It's almost like its own underground city. It has pretty creative design. The Rust Devil type raiders are also some of my favorite in the game, purely from an aesthetic point. We meet a Robo-Brain, who is probably the most insufferable character you meet in Fallout 4 besides Marcy Long. In exchange for a robotic bot body, it will give us information on the mechanist layer. Ada decrypts this. After installing a crypto mining rig on her back, we are able to enter the facility, which is hidden in a small, generic electronics department store. I attempt to sneak in, but one of my soldiers decides to walk straight through the tripwire, so my mistake for thinking stealth would work with a small army. This is the primary and largest dungeon added from Automatron. Honestly, they did a good job with it, but this facility has some of the darkest lore in all of Fallout, I would argue. Okay, hi, Editor Scout here. With my style of video, I usually like to include a juicy lore section, where I do a bit of a deep dive in between the faster-paced, higher action parts. I think it acts as a nice little break. If that's something that bores you, and you just want to see the chaos of Giuseppe and friends, just jump here in the video. This section is particularly dark, so I'm gonna take some time with it. As you push deeper into the facility, you come across a section referred to as the research wing. I wouldn't exactly call what they were doing research. The entrance to this wing is behind a large blast door on par with one from a vault. It's obvious they wanted this to stay buried and hidden, and that's understandable. The first part is a harmless looking reception room, but if you read the terminal logs, it's referred to as a holding block watch station. The guard writing these logs states he's unaware of what's happening to the subjects that are brought down here, but then later expresses concerns about the rumors he's overhearing. Rumors about them cutting them open, harvesting, and tormenting the parts. He states he is part of the military, and he initially took this job to serve and help his country. This tells us the whole thing is a government-sanctioned facility run in tandem with the US military. He states the rumors are getting worse, and the subjects are attempting to riot. The previous cell block warden was relocated, and the guard behind these logs was then promoted. He was made aware of what was going on, but did not care. He expressed, if we have any hope at beating our enemy, we need to get these robots online. His so-called patriotism has overtaken his sense of morality completely, and you will see why in just a bit. The door right next to the guard's desk opens into cell block A. It's huge, and still houses ghouls, meaning this facility was operating until the bombs stopped it. Immediately, we can see a robotic restraints bed that would have been controlled by a human brain bot holding an unwilling victim. In this block, we can read the various terminal logs detailing a few of the subjects' behavior and candidacy, as well as their recorded crimes. We can take this elevator at the end of the cell block with another restraint bed down deeper into the facility. Here, we enter a cruel laboratory. Immediately, we can see shelves stacked with human brains in jars. In this section, there are 3 rooms: RoboBrain R&D, brain extraction, and cerebral reconditioning. There are 2 more that are larger, but we will get to those later. RoboBrain R&D doesn't have a lot we can use to figure out its purpose, but the room contains tanks with various preserved specimen and chemical handling apparatuses. I'm assuming this was used to manufacture brain gel or various tech for keeping the brains alive. The room next to it, labeled brain extraction, provides us with a lot. The first thing you see in the center of the room is a large machine used to extract human brains. Here is the lead project engineer's holotape.
Lead engineer, Thomas Harkin. So far, we're tracking on schedule for the latest RoboBrain milestone. Dr. Asante has assured me that the active time between memory wipes has been greatly increased. Hopefully, that will hold true in our latest live testing. The senior engineers also informed me that their latest assembly line adjustments have been completed early. I can only hope that means due diligence was still paid, and we're not going to be looking at a total system breakdown again. Other than that, I'm still worried about the test subjects. Right now, we've got more than enough to meet our demand. But it's not like these things grow on trees.
Anise Ciroletti, Chief Scientist. This is the 3rd time I've had to request more security. As thorough as our assembly procedures may be, there's a human factor to be considered. These are criminal and unstable minds. It can't be a scientist's job to ensure each test subject is properly sedated. I was promised military assistance and security, but we need more. I won't allow my crew to be endangered. As fascinating as it may be to integrate the human mind with robotics, sometimes I wish I never signed on to this project.
The cerebral reconditioning terminal can be found in this room. It contains logs detailing the reconditioning process after the brains had been extracted by the project lead Anise Ciruletti, where she talks to them and tests to see if the memories had been successfully wiped and if they are capable of running computer commands like a processor. In these logs, some of the brains, when turned on, express distraught and fear and ask where their body is or what happened to their arms and legs, only to be terminated then dumped into the incinerator. Among these logs, we can find Subject 22, which had a log inside of the cell block. They were functioning as intended, but had some memories left over, and when accessed, they remembered and panicked, only to be discarded after. Ciruletti then referred to the technician's work as sloppy for not wiping the brain's memories clean enough. Another log details a brain being fully aware of being nothing but a brain in a biogel jar, but not caring, and was determined to destroy the facility and all its staff even after the twisted scientist taunts him in his situation. The other log just details the defective brain that suffered damage when being extracted. To say these logs are disturbing would be putting it lightly, but that's not the end of it. In the cerebral reconditioning room, we can find the brain extraction terminal. Yes, the terminals are swapped with their respective rooms, I don't know why. These logs are from one of the extraction technicians, and they really highlight how morally devoid and cruel the staff are in this facility. The first log details equipment failure in the extractor, explaining that it wasn't meant to handle such high volumes of use. I'm not going to explain the details of why the parts broke because the video would certainly get shadow banned into oblivion, so go ahead and pause the video and read it for yourself. The second log is about how the staff were mixing alcohol with biogel and making a funny cocktail. The third log is about the techs playing a funny prank on one of their colleagues by covering a real brain with frosting and pretending it was a birthday cake only for them to bite into it and realize that it wasn't in fact a birthday cake. Hilarious. The last log is one of the techs complaining about the absurdity of some of the other staff questioning him if working the extractor disturbed him, only for him to exclaim his lack of understanding as to why others found it disturbing. It seems this place only employed complete psychopaths. In this room, we can also find the apparatus used for wiping memories using electricity. We can move to the next section where we find a large incineration chamber used to dispose of the subjects after extraction. This is also connected to a factory where the brains were integrated into robots, making the completed robo-brain bots. If you haven't figured it out yet, this facility was used for turning humans into cheap processors for robots. Least evil US government activity. Capitalism inspires innovation. Alright, now that we've covered probably the most disturbing location in Fallout 4, we now continue on to the Mechanist layer, which is conveniently right next to the human brain processor factory, also known as YouTube's servers. Regardless of what you say to the Mechanist, she sends in her robot army to game end you. After you defeat them and the power goes out, this is where you can theoretically talk to her after defeating her in combat directly, but again, this is Bethesda we are talking about, so come on. So what really happens is the door either never opens like it should, and she is stuck in there, locking us in an everlasting battle, or she glitches through the wall but is invulnerable and can't die so nothing triggers, or she becomes friendly but you cannot talk to her, locking the quest. So again, I browse Steam forums and figure out I can no-clip into her chamber and disable the directive on this terminal here, and the DLC ends semi-peacefully. I don't know why, but when you do this, the Mechanist disappears and you get absolutely no reward, so yay? I don't know, again, this is Bethesda. It's impossible to play without triggering half the things in the game yourself with commands, but what matters is the friends we've made along the way. Well, okay, that dumpster fire is over now. Now we can invade the Institute. Here you go. Please enjoy live footage of invasion of Institute brought to you by Red Army. and boom, we build big army, we build big gulag, and we complete game with one DLC. Mission complete. Soviet Union restored. Giuseppe's task has been accomplished, and now we can say for certain you can absolutely beat game with Red Army. Thank you for watching. If you do not watch video 17 more times in a row, you will end up in Gulag in Furping Station. Okay, the video's over. Thank you guys for watching. I love you all. Please consider supporting this channel. I'm really trying to grow it at the moment. Any bit of support goes a long ways, just even a simple like. If you're a fellow mod appreciator, check out the rest of the channel. I got some cool stuff in there, and many more super cool projects to come. But before I end the video, I need to ask you guys something. It's time for you to hit the subscribe button. I need you to hit the subscribe button now. Hit the button, hit the button now. Hit the button, hit the button now. Hit the button, hit the button now. Hit the subscribe button, bitch.